Hi, my name is Rock Thomas, and in this video I'm going to show you the 3 things you need to overcome in order to buy your first piece of real estate. When I was 25 years old, I had 0 cash, terrible credit rating, and I still managed to buy my first piece of property. I'm going to show you how I did it and how you can do it too, no matter where you are and what your credit rating is or how little cash you have. We're going to make it happen right here, right now. Hey, anytime you do something for the first time, like riding a bike, it's going to be difficult. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel awkward. Buying your first property is not going to be any different. So you've got to understand the rules and the way that it works. So let me mentor you in this process. I went through the same learning curve you're going to go through. I had to learn how to hack the system a little bit because I didn't have the cash down and I didn't have the credit rating. And if you're in that situation, don't worry about it, because if I can do it, then you can do it. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to buy a house conventionally with all the proper systems in place that the bank system wants you to have, but I'm also going to show you how to hack the system.
Hacker man.
And how to get in there even when you're not where you want to be. So let's get started. All right, so in order to help you buy your first house, I think it's really important for you to understand how conventionally things work, how most people are doing it mainstream. And I'm going to use some round numbers in order to give you that example. Then I'm going to show you how I house hacked the system, how I did it without some of the key components that the traditional banks and institutions are going to ask you for. So you can take any path to get to your first home purchase, because we don't want you to wait to buy real estate. We want you to buy real estate and wait and watch it amass in value and create financial freedom for you. So for the example I'm going to give you, I'm just going to use round numbers. We're going to go with $100,000 as a purchase price, and you're going to traditionally come up with anywhere from 3 to 25% of the down payment. In this example, I'm going to use $25,000, which is what in most markets we call a conventional mortgage, where the banks are comfortable with that because you have some skin in the game, which means that you're going to need to qualify, what's the word? Qualify for a $75,000 loan from a bank, from a B bank, from the seller themselves, or somebody else, we call it other people's money, that you're going to borrow in order to finance the entire purchase. The reason you do this is that you want to avail yourself of leverage. Real estate is a leverageable product. You could pay $100,000 cash, but even rich people, we don't buy property that way because we can use other people's money and borrow the $75,000 at 2 or 3% and then get a return on the $25,000 we invest, somewhere closer to 25 or 30%, and I'll explain that in another video. So the first thing that you need to do, you understand now, is you need to come up with $100,000, either yourself, through banks, through any kind of financing that you can do. Once you do that and you've established that route, you're going to notice that in order to borrow money from other people, they're going to want to look at your profile, what you call your credit rating. There are different institutions like FICA, your FICA score, and in Canada they use Equifax and different things in order to establish what is your history in borrowing money. Now they're going to look at how you've paid your credit cards, how you've paid your cable bills, if you've ever gone bankrupt and things like that. And they give you a score that goes up to somewhere in the 800s. And based on where you're at, you are considered a VIP client or a client that's at risk. If you're down in the 400s, you've probably had some bad things historically. And when they look at that, they're going to go, nah, we don't want to lend money to you because you've been a naughty boy or girl when it came to paying back. So your history is very important. But let's assume for the time being that your credit rating is good, it's fine, and you borrow the $75,000. A big component of that is going to be your job or your ability to pay back. And they're going to look at how much money you make, and they're going to use a rule of thumb somewhere around 36% of what you earn that can go toward the total cost of your house. So you can't go and buy $1 million property on a $60,000 source of income. you're going to have it be commensurate, or it's going to have to be proportional to what you earn, and your bank will figure that part out for you. So the second part is, what is your credit score? How do they perceive you as a client? And what is your ability to pay back? Now that you have your property, you want to make sure that you take care of the property and maintain its value. So you need to take care of the maintenance and the upkeep and the roof and the foundation of things. So that's another role as a property manager and an owner. And you'll learn those things once you get your first property that will allow it to increase in value. And here's the fun part. Here's the exciting part. Remember, it's that rising balloon that goes bigger and bigger and higher and up in value. So remember, you bought that property for $100,000. You have a mortgage of $75,000. Your goal is to maintain the value of that property by putting in a little bit of upkeep. As a rule of thumb, we would say 1 to 2% of the value of the property, which would be a couple of $1,000s every year, you'd probably put into it in order to maintain its value. But put that aside, if we fast forward to 5 years down the road, and these are some round numbers, so don't hold me to them, your value of the property could easily be $110,000. Might be more, might be less, it depends on the market, but over time, a rule of thumb of 2% increase per year is very, very conservative and very, very safe. So we're looking at 110. But here's the fun part. The $75,000, your payments are paying down part of the principal. So of the $75,000, that might go down to $65,000 after 5 years that you owe the bank. So now if we do the math and we go over here, we go, well, you put in $25,000, and what's the word for that? That's the equity in the property. That's the value you have in that property. Well, guess what? The equity just went up. The balloon went up and the mortgage went down. So you now have increased your equity from $25,000 to $45,000 in 5 little years. Well, you were living somewhere anyway. That's the beauty of real estate. And you did it using other people's money. We'll talk about the return on that investment, but if you look very quickly in 5 years, you almost doubled your money. Is it okay if we help you double your money in 5 years? And I'll tell you what, there are some other hidden ways that you make money through real estate. You will easily double your money in 5 years, unless you hit a 2008 or something like that. But by the way, you hang on, you weather the storm, you'll get there. So what I want to show you next is, let's say that you're like I was years ago when I had a crappy credit rating and I had no money. How can you still get in the real estate game? So let me share that story with you now. All right, so I'm 25 years old. I just recently invested $20,000 of my mother's money into a restaurant and promptly bankrupt the restaurant a year later. I moved to Quebec City. I get a job as a flight attendant. I have a second job, parking cars at the hotel, and I'm on the hunt for some passive income. So I'm looking for real estate deals. I don't know what I'm doing.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
But I'm reading books on it, I'm studying, and I'm driving around, and you can do this too. Just start driving around, going into open houses, looking at properties, looking online, just getting the feel for the market. And I came across this for sale by owner. We call them FSBOs, right? Somebody who's trying to sell their property on their own, and sometimes they're just trying to save the commission. Sometimes it's a problematic property and it's not really that welcomed by the bank. And this was the case here. So it was a property that was selling for $65,000. That's what they were asking. And believe it or not, it had 4 bedrooms downstairs and 3 bedrooms upstairs. And it was still a small home, but they just had divided it up that way. So when I started talking to them, I discovered that they had 4 people renting rooms in the bottom part of the home, generating $600 a month of revenue for each person. So that was $2,400 a month of revenue. I was like, are you kidding me? I was making $1,300 a month working full-time as a flight attendant at that time. This revenue was going to easily help to cover what we call the PITI, the principal, the interest, the taxes, and the insurance, most of it. There's still repairs and other little things in the equation for owning a property, but that's the bulk of it. So I thought, wow, how cool. So I told them that I didn't have any money and I asked them if they would loan me some money, and they were open to the idea. You know why? Because the people in the property were actually people that also needed to be fed and taken care of. Now, that's not everybody that wants to do that, but I was desperate. I was hungry to have a way to pay my mother back, and I was willing to do that. So I made them an offer, and we settled on $62,500. And I went to my credit card, and I gave them $2,000 cash. And they carried what the bank would normally carry, a mortgage of $60,500. I don't remember the interest rate because it's many years ago, but back then it was probably pretty high, like around 8%. And I had a payment somewhere probably around $600 a month, plus the taxes and everything. It might have been around $800 a month total for everything, which meant that I had $1,800 left for myself to purchase food and to hire somebody to take care of them during the day while I was away. Now, the benefit is this, is that I ended up living there for free.
It's free real estate.
I had no rent to pay because they were paying it. Does that make sense? I had no taxes to pay. I lived there for free. And once I hired somebody to take care of them, I was able to put about $500 a month, which is not a ton of money, but I was able to put $500 a month into my pocket. But here's the thing. How much was I spending on living? Living expenses are how much of your life right now? Well, according to the equation, 36% can be attributed to your property. So now I was saving 36% of my revenue from my job that I could save. How many of you are starting to see the picture now? Are you starting to see the picture now? That when you house hack and you have somebody else pay for your expenses, your PITI, you now take that money and you can reinvest it in paying off your debt like I was doing for a while, and eventually into purchasing another property. So if you're not able to afford the payments of a property, you put somebody into a room in your property, you purchase a property that has people in the rooms. Now you compromise on your lifestyle, on the quality of living, but if that's what it takes to get you over the hump and to get your first property, are you willing to do it? Because I was. If you want to become a millionaire, if you want to become financially free, house hacking and getting your first piece of real estate, you've got to be hungry and be willing to do whatever it takes. And when you do, you can get that extra $500, you can live rent-free, you can have the benefits of it, and then a year or two later, like I did, I sold the property and I bought a bigger property. I opened up a senior citizen home. I'll tell you about that on another video. And guess what? I went from $2,400 a month in revenue to $110,000 per year. So I went 4 times bigger because now my balloon was rising. I was more comfortable with the real estate. I was more confident with the negotiation process, with paying a bigger mortgage, with the repairs on a bigger home, etc. You want to get in the game. Find a way to get in the game. Fight to get in the game. Use a strategy to get in the game. Did I have good credit? No. Did I have a lot of cash? No. Did I have creativeness and resourcefulness? Yes. Can you do it too? We'll see. But now you have the formula. Hey, you know what? There's a barrier of entry to get into a lot of things. Real estate has its size. Lemonade stand is kind of down here. You got to decide how high you want to climb in order to succeed, to get on the other side of success. Now that I've shown you the guidelines for you to get your first property, let me mentor you over the wall to the other side. And let's climb the wall together. Let me be your mentor in the process of buying your first property. Ah!